What's up, ADHD crew? Do you seem to get started on one thing and move on to something else entirely very shortly after, all the time? Typical ADHD, right?
When I think about why I've stopped certain projects, it's usually because I'm either unsure of the next step to take, which makes me procrastinate, or I'm intimidated by the amount of effort needed to complete it, which discourages me altogether and makes me move on to something easier to accomplish, which can offer me instant gratification instead.
It's almost as though we get really excited about something that we're working on, but something else seems to catch our attention, and it overshadows our initial interest in the thing that we were previously doing. So I just want to offer you guys a few possible solutions that might work for you. A lot of what I talk about in my videos is kind of repetitive because these principles are key and they do apply to an awful lot of lifestyle situations. So one of the first things I tend to do is hold a rule when it comes to starting new things, postponing new ideas. What I like to do is write any ideas I get down on either a whiteboard that's highly visible so that I can remember it and see it at all times, or I can type it up on my laptop and get round to it when I've got some time. The fact is that I know I need to postpone new ideas so that I don't get distracted and pulled away from current obligations and responsibilities. And a second rule I have for myself is I try to limit the amount I take on board. So it could be that you're a person who likes to multitask on different projects, but I do recommend that you limit it to just maybe 1 or 2, maximum of 3. Depends on how much you're capable of handling, but just be aware if you do this, you're going to find that most of your energy is going to go into one thing and the other things will kind of subside. Another thing I find helps is keeping responsibilities and projects that I know that I need to finish in a highly visible place that I can easily access. Chances are if it's right there in front of me, I'm always going to be reminded about it, and in a way it makes it easier for me to hold myself accountable. Now, if you're actually trying to accomplish a project, whether it be an essay for school or what have you, sometimes it's hard to actually stick with it because you don't really feel like doing it.
Sometimes I find it beneficial to build my way up to the bigger tasks. What helps me is getting very clear about the steps that I need to take by writing it down and getting visual. If I pick something easy to accomplish first, I can then use that accomplishment as a stepping stone to create momentum, and it just goes from there.
So as I've mentioned before, chunk it down, put it into bite-sized workloads. There's a trick that you can use called the Pomodoro technique, which is short bursts of productivity with regulated and timed breaks in between. That way it allows things to be more fresh and you don't get so exhausted mentally. You give yourself some time to recuperate. Think of your brain as a battery that needs to be regularly recharged. It might not be ideal, but at least it works. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how you get there. And a final tip would just be get some external accountability. Perhaps this could be a family member or perhaps a mentor that you hire that visits you or you visit them regularly, and they just keep you on track and they can monitor how you're doing on a weekly or monthly basis, whatever your preference is. Sometimes that social pressure of having to stay up to date with things can actually be a benefit because it spurs you on emotionally. And one final thing that I tend to do if I can't get in the mood and motivate myself to do something, just look online for inspiration. I find that if I look at videos on YouTube to inspire me about a certain subject, it kind of gets me in the mood, it warms me up to the idea of doing it, and it just makes it more likely for me to stick with it.